You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
I'm Moses Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com, thechrisvossshow.com. Welcome to the big show, my family and friends, the big circus tent, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages. Welcome to the Circus Tent Podcast in the sky. 14 damn years going on. What is it coming up this September? I think it is October or September. And we just broke through the 1,400 mark, and now we're on our way to 1,500. How many shows do I need to do to make you people happy? Damn it. Is there like a cap? No, I don't know. Maybe just tell me. Really, I'm tired. My bones are old. Anyway, guys, we appreciate you guys coming by the show. Be sure to refer the show. Put your arm around your friend, neighbor, relative, that person that maybe they need to be a little bit smarter, or maybe a lot smarter. You know, we've seen your relatives. And tell them, subscribe to the Chris Voss Show. Damn it. It makes you better, more beautiful, more intelligent, sexy. When you're intelligent, you're sexier. Like, people just see you and they go, hey, what is that person walking around with that glow? They must listen to the Chris Voss Show. Or they went and saw Oppenheimer for the glow. You know, that nuclear stuff. Anyway, guys, refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, the big 130,000 LinkedIn group, the LinkedIn newsletter as well is always cool. Subscribe to that thing, grows like a weed. And also go to YouTube.com if I didn't mention it before, but if I did, I'm just hammering the point. We have an amazing gentleman on the show. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects that made my life, sales. When I was young, there's a story in my book about when I was young. I was about to get fired by my sales manager because I couldn't close or sell my way out of a paper bag, and pretty much any sale I got had to flop into my lap. It was like a fish that jumped out of the boat and landed on my lap, and there weren't many. So they're about to fire me, and there's a famous story in there about how my sales manager loaned me $10. He goes, "Go get Zig Ziglar's what was it? How to Closing the Sale," I think it was, or something like that. Saved my life, changed my life, and the rest is history. And now I just run a podcast all the time. So there you go. If you want to be like me, buy the book. Anyway, guys, we have an amazing gentleman on the show. Brian Jackson joins us on the show today. He's going to be talking about his amazing company that he has built, and I think you're going to be excited by it. Sandler Training, and it's even in San Diego, California, which makes it even better and more beautiful. Brian Jackson is the owner and coach. He's a career-long practitioner of the Sandler selling system. There's a system to it, folks. Brian began Sandler Training in San Diego after over 20 years in the medical equipment and software sales and in leadership. He enjoys helping clients achieve their personal and professional ambitions, changing their behaviors, attitudes, and techniques, and rising up the ranks of the organization. And now he joins us on the show to change my behavior. Welcome to the show, Brian. How are you?
No chance, man. No chance. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I'm 55. I'm an old dog. Thank you for coming. Give us your .com so people can find you on the interwebs, please, sir.
Well, the .com is at salesrevenue.sandler.com. And I tell you what, I'll copy and paste it and put it in the chat if that is possible.
I think so.
But no, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. So give us an overview about Sandler Training. Give us an overview about your company and what they do from a 30,000 level.
Yeah, well, you mentioned earlier, you said, hey, there's a system to this, right? Well, just to imagine, most salespeople out there, they go into sales because they're told their whole life, hey, you've got the gift of gab. You're good with people. You should be in sales. And other people are kind of pulled into sales because they're technically very knowledgeable. They've got some sort of a technical knowledge, and then they're the only ones that can face the customers and talk to the customers. So they're put into this customer-facing role. But regardless of the scenario, not many people start out with a systematic way of selling. So what we have found, in fact, there's even been a clinical study done, a white paper done, that showed that less than 1 out of 5 companies invest in a selling methodology training platform.
Wow.
But of those 18%, there's only 18% of companies that invest in sales methodology training. 100% of them attain their revenue goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not surprising, because if you think about it, if you go to the batting cages consistently, your batting average is going to go up, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not rocket science. We didn't need to do a white paper to figure that out. So just imagine that salespeople, instead of out there winging it all the time, which is what I'll admit I did in my early career, we actually we have a systematic way of selling that's all based in psychology. So.
There you go. There you go. So what got you into sales and down this road and eventually owning your own company? Give us a little bit of your hero's journey, if you will.
Well, I'll give you the short version. I followed in my father's footsteps. I'm very proud to say that my father was in sales and sales leadership. And I'm also proud to say that I passed all of his milestones before I was 31 years old. So
there you go.
I got to a point where very quickly, one, I sort of didn't want to continue to move up the ladder, because the further you move up the ladder, the further you get away from selling, you know. And selling and coaching salespeople really is what I'm passionate about. But the other thing is that being based in San Diego, I recently saw that San Diego it's number 4 in the nation now for the most homes priced at over $1 million.
Holy crap. Okay?
So San Diego, it's San Fran, San Jose, LA, and then San Diego. And so I'm just being really candid with you. I found that my management, my sales leadership income, what used to seem like a lot of money, wasn't affording me the quality of life that I was used to growing up in Texas and Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
You know, so I had to do something else. So I actually Sandler is a franchise model. There's other franchisees like me around the country. I was a client of Sandler 15 years ago. And I had heard rumblings of what my coach had made, what he made, how much money he made. And I always just made a mental note that, you know, I think I could do that. I think I might enjoy that. So I called him up and I asked him, I said, you know, Gary, do you mind sharing with me if it's true that you can make this much money doing what you do? And he said, yeah, it's true.
Can I see your checks? And
I said, well, that's what I want to do. I want to be my own business owner. I want to make, you know, twice as much money. So, you know, from there, it's been a journey, a 4-year journey. It's been humbling being a business owner. I've learned a lot about myself, but I'm pretty lucky. I get to make good money coaching people, helping people.
There you go. You've gotten through the gauntlet. You know, being a owner of a company or a CEO, you have to sell, and so you know having that sales skills and that expertise is really important. Because you got to sell to everybody. You got to sell to your customers, your employees. You got to sell your vision to the board.
Chris, it is a hotbed for imposter syndrome. You know,
really?
Like, oh yeah, like you just imagine you have a successful career. You've never failed in any sales or leadership, and now you have to be a sales coach, and you have to sell your sales coaching. So never has selling been more difficult. And this is true for every other sales consultant that I've ever talked to. They all share the same thing. You question everything because you are your own product when you're selling. You're the brochure. In fact, there's no need for brochures because like
you're a pretty good looking brochure.
You know,
I'm not hitting on you.
It's just good lighting. No, but it's I'll tell you something. It really has leveled up my game in sales because I have to be a product of my product.
There you go. You're the product of your product's product. Something like that.
Yeah.
And plus you're the brochure, damn it. You know, it's the thing about owning a company and building a company, and we talk about this a lot in the channel, is it brings self-actualization and self accountability on you like nothing else.
Yeah.
Like it puts you through the gauntlet of the thing, and if you survive, that's good. You might lose a few, but so what do you think the biggest issue is today in the sales market field for just about any, just sales in general? What do you think the biggest struggle is, or things that people are having out there?
Well, I mean, it's not, I'm not just saying that. I mean, I think it really is fact that the world of sales has completely changed in the last 20 years. It's completely changed. And what's specifically changed about it is that traditionally, meaning prior to 2000 or whatever, prior to the internet, prior to high-speed internet, you had to go through a salesperson to learn about a product, and so, and I'm generalizing here, like if listeners can bear with me, I'm going to generalize with your permission, but generally people would hire salespeople that were just face people. They were charming, were attractive. They were say, hey, you know what? I'll buy it. I'll listen to what you have to say. And maybe at the end of it, they say, sure, I'll buy it. Maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. For the most part. Now, because the buyer's journey has completely changed. Okay. They come to the conversation with the salesperson already armed to the teeth with information that they've found online. They've checked your references, your reviews. If you are just going to spout knowledge that they already know, you're wasting their time, and it's going to be a short conversation. So salespeople nowadays, they have to be very skilled in capturing people's attention quickly, getting control of the conversation fairly quickly, diagnosing quickly, establishing next steps quickly, and getting clear indicated next steps after every conversation, keeping that deal moving through the process. And so it takes more skill. In a short, sales takes more skill now than it ever has before. And to elaborate on that, are you tracking with me so far?
I am here.
Yeah. So to elaborate on that, the type of salesperson has changed as well. Like we see, and if any of the listeners are familiar with the DISC personality profiling tool, are you familiar with DISC, Chris?
I'm familiar with some different profiling tests and stuff like that.
Probably Myers-Briggs is another one.
Yeah, Myers-Briggs, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, DISC is a similar but even more simplified for the purpose of application. But what we see is more and more sort of, let's just say, introverted types that are excelling in sales because they make better listeners and they are more, or I guess I should say less threatening to people. And so long as they have the assertiveness to get permission or to go places conversationally, they are better at gathering the information and listening. And I think the reason why we're seeing a lot more people like that is that you're seeing a lot more technical products. Every product has a software attached to it, or artificial intelligence or machine learning, those kinds of things. So you're getting these people that are highly knowledgeable about the product. Maybe they come from a technical background and they have that more introverted personality. And now they need to be in sales. They got to sort of have a way to execute in sales and get assertive and ask good questions and such. So a lot's changed.
I can see how that would work well because listening to the clients is really important. That's one of the things we do on the show. I pretty much try not to interrupt our guests. I hate listening to other podcasts where, the poor guests can't get a word in edgewise. It's like, plus, they write me on the show and go, hey, we've heard your shit for 14 years. Shut up and let people talk. So, what's interesting to me is it seems like a lot of sales right now, people have lost some of the basics. And you tell me if I have my thumb on this correctly, because I get hit up all the time on, get people hit up on one of the podcasts, like hundreds of hits. And then we get the LinkedIn stuff, the message on LinkedIn, everybody wants to work for us for some whatever on LinkedIn. And it's almost like the basics are gone. Like I learned the old school way. I learned from car dealerships, and used car dealerships. And that'll put you through the gauntlet. And you learn stuff like building rapport, mirroring, asking questions, getting to know the person and having that vibe with them first before you start trying to close them into shit. Yeah. And these days I just get like no one warms me up or takes me to dinner or offers to buy a coffee. It's just like, boom, you want to buy my shit? And you're just like, who the fuck are you? And what's going on?
Do you see a lot of that happening over email too? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Email, LinkedIn. No one wants to take me to dinner on a date before we go right to home base. They just, hey, can we get your credit card there? And you're just like,
I agree with you. And a lot of what we see, and this is what you're sort of saying, is, a lot of people are just hiding behind email to do their selling. A lot of companies, their sales teams, they think that emailing and LinkedIn messaging and that kind of thing is the only form of prospecting. Well, it's the only form of prospecting that they do. An interesting thing happened when I started my company not long before COVID, the pandemic. And did you notice that when the pandemic happened, that even though salespeople out there had nowhere to be, like they were all quarantined all over the world, that we didn't see an uptick in phone calls from salespeople?
That is kind of interesting. Maybe that's because we're all at home playing video games or something.
Well, think about it. Like business owners and the people that you're trying to call decision makers, they're trapped. Most of you have access to their cell phones, like there's software out there to get their cell phones. Why are you not calling them? Why are you not calling them? What else do you have to do? You're quarantined in your office. I noticed it. I noticed that, in fact, I kept this is in the beginning of my business where I was doing a lot of phone calls and prospecting because I was trying to find my first client. I found that it was some of the best, most productive time for dialing. And I was surprised that salespeople weren't picking up the phone. The point is this: salespeople, they don't pick up the phone as much as they used to. They hide behind email and LinkedIn messaging.
I love talking to people, but I'm old world. I'm kind of old school.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting is that with those tools, there's so many great technologies out there that can track opens and clicks and that kind of thing. And I think it's awesome using those tools to take imagine draining a pond. If you're a fisherman, you drain a pond from, down to 4 feet deep, and then you can spearfish. If you can take 1,000 contacts and email them and then see, who are the top 100 clickers and openers. Now call those people. To me, that's how it's meant to be used. It's meant to gather data and to be smarter about the calls you make, not to avoid the calls altogether.
Yeah. It used to be back in my sales days that when you would call the buyer for some company, and man, that dude had 1 to 2 armor ninja warrior secretaries gatekeepers you had to get through, and you had to charm them. I had to go with donuts and flowers and still they'd be like, I don't care how many donuts you got, Chris, you're not getting in. And you could not get on. And now you can really get on the phone with people. It's kind of funny. And it's almost like they love talking more and spending more time, and it's a little bit easier to build rapport. I mean, at least that's what I find, because I just call people and I'm just like, I don't care.
Well, you find that because you're actually making the call. You're right. Look, I didn't come here planning on talking about reflecting on the pandemic, but since we're on the topic, I mean, after that experience, people were welcoming human interaction. Yeah. And so when you're one of the few that's willing to pick up the phone call and you just treat like you're just being authentic, you're being a human, saying, look, I don't know if there's any application here. Your boss just as well as anybody. How about I tell you the reason why I'm calling him or her, and then you tell me if it might make sense for us to talk, him and I or her and I, and it might not. Like, is that fair? And they say, yeah, sure. Tell me, what is it? Well, here's what we see folks like them often dealing with, and this is what we help people with, blah, 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 blah. Any of that worth a conversation with them, and it might not be. Like, you're treating them with respect. You're treating them equal business stature. And it's not going to win every time, but you know what? You're going to have a conversation. Maybe you get an appointment.
There you go. I think too, somebody asked me yesterday, we had an Air Force gentleman on, and after the show, he asked me, he goes, why do you like doing this? And I go, because I love people. I'm very interested in people. I like interviewing people. I like talking to people. If I'm on a plane, I can get all the rows around me laughing, free drinks for everybody, and the waitresses love me, or the stewardesses love me. And I can do that. I can do it in an elevator anywhere I go. But I'm genuinely interested in people, and I genuinely care about people. At least most people, maybe not politicians.
Yeah.
But even then, I can probably strike up a conversation room if I need to.
Sure.
But and I think that people get that from great salespeople. I've had some great salespeople that have worked for me over the years, and their ability to gain rapport and connect and mirror in a very short amount of time. I mean, like, I've had someone I walk by them and they're like, yeah, I know what it's like to be 45. Yeah, I'm feeling you, man. I'm like, you're 25. Shut up. What the hell are you doing?
Let me challenge you on this, though.
Yeah.
Because I am tracking with what you're saying, 100%. 100%. But you are a certain personality type that you're a social being, right? You're a social being. Fair?
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm pretending to be a social being. I'm actually not ironically, actually, I chose a profession that I enjoy, and I enjoy the competitiveness of it and the business ownership part of it, the problem solving part of it. There's a lot of it that I enjoy, and with all humility, I'm good at selling, but it drains my energy. Like the human interaction drains. It takes more energy for me than it does you. Like you get energy from human interaction. Like when I'm on an airplane, I've gotten better about this, but I usually sit in a seat that's the least likely to have someone sit next to me. Do you want to know what row and aisle that is? Just so you know, for all the listeners, this is my secret. I'll give it away.
What is it?
On a typical Southwest flight, it's row 10 or 9.
Wow.
And just take either the window or the aisle, because it's row 9 or 10 that's always the last where people sit. The people sit in the front, then they sit in the back, and then it's the middle that fills up last. So if it's not a full flight, you're most likely to have an empty seat in the middle in row 9 or 10. That's my tip from 20 years of traveling. But that's where I sit, because I don't want to sit next to people. I don't want to talk to people. I'm the opposite of you. So here's what we teach in our program on the topic of bond and rapport, is that you treat people the way that they want to be treated. There's ways to pick up. There's cues as to what personality types people are. There's a lot of cues. But here's my devil's advocate, my argument, is that for some people, building rapport might be, hey, listen, would it make sense for us to get just straight to the business? And, no talk of what did you do today? How are you? Weather, sports, whatever. But would it make sense for us to just get straight to the business? For some personality types, they're going to say, yeah, let's do it. Like, I like you. I really want to work with you. You're not like other salespeople that always want to have banter. Like, thank you. And that's rapport, because you're treating them the way that they want to be treated. You're adapting. We use DISC for really teaching this whole stuff. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I'm just challenging a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. But gaining rapport. It's just so interesting, because there's lots of easy ways to do it. Yeah. When someone comes on the show, we're in the green room, we'll talk about the background. You have a really cool background, by the way. But I'll usually talk about their background, talk about something of theirs, or I'll see something. There's a book I'm reading currently, and I think the gal calls it a what's it, where basically you find something on the person and you go, what is that? What is that little flag, maybe emblem you're wearing, or what kind of jacket is that? Is it a designer jacket? Things like that. Oh, I can see you're married. You're holding up a cool cup right now. So there's different ways that I can talk. Oh, how long you been married? And so there's, hitting from all those different points. But yeah, I know it's so hard for me that people struggle with it. What do you guys do with your coaching program? What do you guys find are the most popular programs in your program that people really are looking for the most to solve their problems as salespeople?
Well, before I answer that, I have to tell you a hilarious story, a fast story about how that can backfire, looking for something to talk about.
Okay,
I can't remember where I heard this, but I think it's a true story that a sales rep was in someone's office, and they sat down and they started to scan the room for pictures. Remember, not everybody wants to make chit chat. Some people want to get straight to business, but maybe this person was seeing that this person wanted to make would build rapport with some chit chat. So they looked and they saw a picture of this person with their wife behind them, and it was a nice picture of them standing, I think, like at Paris or something, some like historic site or whatever. And he said, "Oh, cool! I see. That's a cool picture that you and your wife, you guys have visited such and such, huh? Did you guys have fun when you visited there? I've been there, something like that." And the guy says, "God, how does this story go? Shoot!
Did he get divorced?
I already messed up the story. Okay, I already messed up the story. Okay, here's how the story goes. I remember now. By the way, I'm the worst story.
You have everyone on pins and needles now. You built up the suspense.
So here's how it went. So the guy saw a picture. Now I ruined the story, but it's still funny. It's still cringy as hell. But he sees a picture of this guy with a picture of him with John Madden behind him. And he goes, oh my God, I'm a huge fan of John Madden. When did you get that picture taken with John Madden? The guy says, that's not John Madden. That's my wife.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That was worth the build-up.
That was worth the build-up. Sorry. So now you can tell my personality style actually is coming out because I'm terrible. Like, unlike you, I'm terrible at telling stories. I'm the opposite personality.
There you go. Well, you haven't had anybody come out on the show, so feel free. Even though you're married, your wife might not appreciate that. Jokes, folks.
So what was your question?
My question was, what out of all your programs you have? Because I'm looking across the website, and you guys have a lot of cool stuff here, a lot of different packages and stuff. What do you find is the things that people need the most? Your top programs that you guys offer. What do you guys find that they need the most, and that they're struggling with the most?
Well, here's the way I'd answer that question: is that not every client's the right kind of client for us.
There you go.
Right. I mean, we cater to, I like to say, revenue generating professionals, right? Not necessarily always salespeople, but revenue generating professionals that have a highly consultative sales process, and where they can move the needle. And it's usually not like a transactional commoditized type thing. Not that Sandler doesn't apply to that stuff, but that's just not like the kind of clients that I particularly serve. So the clients that I serve, they all can more or less benefit from one product, and that is the Sandler Methodology and the program with which we reinforce this stuff on an ongoing basis. Like, it's almost like a virtual training facility for salespeople, whether it be individuals or large companies that often do private programs, or small companies that have even one or two salespeople, and they often attend a session like a cohort altogether with 20 or 30 people in one Zoom room. So, in those programs for private clients, we tailor the content to fit the challenges they're facing. And in public programs, we more rotate through content, meet people one-on-one. But one thing that I see as a common theme that everybody wants to really kind of get to is, or at least not everybody, but a lot of times is business development. It's brushing up on what we were talking about earlier with, how do we make cold calls, Brian? Like how do we make cold calls effective? How do we make them fun? How do we take the pressure off of ourselves and the pressure off of prospects? Because it is a lost art. It is a lost art for the reasons that we've talked about, with people hiding behind emails. It's also a lost art because we've got now 2 generations of humans that have grown up on the screen and have less and less experience with interpersonal skills, to be very, blunt. So, cold calling is something that if you're good at it, if you can get good at it, oh my God, do you ever have job security? Wow. You can be motivated to consistently make prospecting calls. And if you can be good at it, you have written your ticket to succeed in any sales organization.
There you go. And people really get, I think, in your voice and your personality, if you really are caring and if you're really interested in them and helping them achieve what they want. I learned a lot from the who's the insult comic from all these years. He recently passed away. Don Rickles.
Yeah.
And Don Rickles could say anything to anybody, pretty much. Yeah. But you always felt with Don that he cared about you, he loved you, he was just telling jokes, he was having fun, and he respected you, and there was no harm to it. And I think people get that when you sell to them. I think people get a sense of your personality. And a lot of the great salespeople I've ever had, they're kind of almost, they can morph and shapeshift into whatever it takes to build rapport with the client and get to know them and show genuine interest. And it's always amazing to me that when people know that you really care about them and are interested in them, it makes all the difference in the world, because no one gives a shit about anybody anymore. So it kind of sticks out. Yeah,
it's on that topic of authenticity, right? Like, there
you go.
One of the things that somebody said to me early on was, I talked to somebody who's very successful within Sandler. What would you do if you were me? And he said, Brian, the first thing I'd do is I'd get into the real psychology of understanding everything that we do and the why behind it all. Mm-hmm. Because until you understand the core principles, you're just a technique junkie. And that stuck with me. You're technique junkie. What does that mean? Well, that's where sales people, humans, like our communication skills our perceptiveness is off the charts. In fact, I think that there's even a lot of communication through pure energy transfer that science hasn't even yet proven yet, but I believe it's real. That without even saying anything or doing anything, we can almost feel things from each other as humans. Mm-hmm. And so when somebody doesn't believe what they're saying, or they're saying something false, in terms of like they're just trying to close you for something, it's incredibly uncomfortable, and it's a complete and total trust breaker, deal killer, you know. Mm-hmm. And so on that note, like, we spend a tremendous amount of time in our program focusing on mindset, focusing on belief system, attitude. Here's an example. You know, a lot of times people don't feel comfortable with asking for referrals, right? Mm-hmm. They feel that asking for a referral is it's invasive, it's pushy. They just don't feel okay about it. They feel like they're being a burden, you know. Well, no, I would disagree. I would say that's in your head. You're getting in your own way. You know, what you need to think is that instead of a referral asking for a handout, that you need to think about how you're offering to lend a hand. Mm-hmm. And a referral, now the technique that follows behind that, the words would be, Chris, listen, you know, when you're talking to people about these kinds of problems that we're talking about, and this could be like while I'm in the discovery phase, like I haven't even closed them. I'm just curious, like, you talk to other peers that have the same role as you? Do they also have these problems? Is there a chance that any of them could benefit from knowing what we do? Mm. Right? Is there a chance that I could help them? And if so, would you feel comfortable making an introduction to me? It's about them. Mm-hmm. Because I'm a believer, and this is how I've had to change my own mindset, because my business is very dependent upon referrals, and I wasn't very okay with it at first. I had to change my belief system. I believe that the universe is conspiring to help us, to help each other. And, you know, the universe has a plan, God, whatever you believe in, they have a plan. And if you don't make that suggestion, then they can't work through you. They can't use you as a conduit to make that miracle happen. But when you just put it out there and just flow with the universe, hey, do you know anybody else that could benefit from knowing what we do? Suddenly you're now in a position to help somebody, you know, and you wouldn't have been there if you had gotten in your own way. If you say, I don't want to ask for a referral, that's just a burden. You know what I mean? That's not a universal way of thinking.
Yeah. And I think if people, like I said before, if people feel they have your general interests at heart, make all the difference. What do you think are the most important habits of successful salespeople?
It's a good question, man.
Persistence, maybe?
Well, yeah, it's just, actually, that's pretty much what I was about to say. I
was going to say cocaine, but those are some of the sales.
Persistence. Here's the angle I was going to take at that. Persistence.
The cocaine or the persistence?
I didn't hear you say the second time.
Oh, you didn't? I said cocaine. I said one of the habits is cocaine. But I've known some pretty.
One of the habits of successful salespeople. Yeah, I get it now. See, I'm slow, man. Yeah,
it's okay, man. Sometimes
it takes me time to process.
Yeah,
I got to stay away from humor on podcasts. I have a very dry sense of humor, actually.
There you go.
So persistence. What I would call that is like discipline, right? Mm. Consistency. Instead of just winging it, waking up every day being busy, really knowing what constitutes a productive behavior versus a non-productive behavior, and knowing what makes a productive day versus a non-productive day. Mm-hmm. And knowing that, being consistent with it, i.e. tenacious with your prospecting. I think that's one of the most important traits. Another one that I know my dad would be proud to hear me say is a healthy sense of skepticism at all times, you know, because we as salespeople we often have happy ears. You know, we hear what we want to hear, clouds our judgment. You know, we don't want to hear no's. Well, why would you not want to hear a no? You're going to hear a no more times than not. Get used to it. Just accept it. Okay. Yeah. It's okay. Just welcome it. It's going to save you time to hear that no and move on. And so to even have a healthy amount of skepticism, like, you know, what could go wrong here? It's going to lead you to ask better questions. Make sure you get very clear, defined next steps and outcomes, et cetera, et cetera.
There you go. Probably skepticism is good too, to make sure you have the sale locked up, you know, so it stays whatever through the sales process it's going to go through once it's sold. And then also, you know, one fallacy that I used to see with a lot of salespeople. We used to sell. We had a huge mortgage division, and so you're dealing with people's credit and their title and their appraisal and all these things that go wrong in the sale. And there's usually a 2 week to a month process of it. And a lot of salespeople that I would see, not only in my business but in other business I was in, they would get like sales on the board and they would bet on them they were going to close, and they kind of like lay back. And the tenacity of what you talked about is really important, because you just need to keep going for more. And then, of course, the sales numbers. I learned a long time ago, I don't know if it was from Zig Ziglar or somebody, but every no is one step closer to yes. So when you get a no, you don't go, oh God, this is horrible. You go, hey, I'm one step closer to yes. I just got to go knock on this next person's door. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely right, man. Speaking of forecasting and all that stuff, man, I mean, it's just crazy what technologies are out there. There's a company we just learned about that we're partners with now that it integrates into a CRM, which is a customer record maintenance system, for those of you who don't know, but it's where businesses organize all their prospects. And the software integrates in, and it uses standard sets of questions that salespeople answer to give you a very specific percentage probability of the forecast and how accurate it is.
Oh, wow.
Which 10 years ago would have been like, but now with the data that they have and the extent to which they've tested it, it's incredibly accurate that they can predict the accuracy of people's forecasts, right? One of the weird things about being a part of Sandler and this network is that we're always learning about those kinds of like new cutting edge technologies. And so anyway, just throwing that out there.
There you go. And I can see that on your guys' website. You guys have the Sandler CRM program. And of course, those are really good. Back in my day of sales, the old days, folks, we used to get rocks and scrawl the name of the client. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we had one of those 3x5 card boxes. Remember those?
Oh, I see. You're a Gen Xer, right? Yeah. See, we have the unique ability to have one foot in the past and one foot in the present. Like I grew up, I started out with manila folders, I didn't have a cell phone in college, so we can relate, maybe we can appreciate, but no, I get it. I was the same way.
The CRMs are cool now because, they can tell you when to tickle, they can tickle file for you. So you can, hey, call this guy back at this time. Yeah. You can remember, hey, what was I talking to this guy about? So I can just pick it up and stuff. But the beautiful part about sales is that if you can learn sales, just to sell anything, a widget, a pen, whatever the case may be, you can almost do anything in life. And it really helps if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to own your own company, if you want to be a CEO someday, you want to be a leader. Being able to sell is everything, because you have to sell your ideas to people. We have to sell ideas to each other. Like I'll have people that say to me, Chris, I hate sales. I don't like to sell. And I'm like, so you're married now, right? Yeah. So you had to sell yourself to your girlfriend, or, your date probably started as a date. You had to go and sell her on what a great guy you're going to be and what a great future you might have. And then you had to sell her on why she should marry you and blah, blah, blah. You've been selling all your life. You sell yourself when you're like, hey, honey, you want to go to the store? That's selling. Yeah. And so people don't realize we sell all the time. It's part of the genius of what we are. But, I come from the Glen Ross College.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Do you ever do any of that sort of training? Do you ever show up at the meeting and pull the Alec Baldwin brass balls out of the briefcase?
Yeah, no, I think that we wear that as a badge of honor. Always be closing, but we prefer always be qualifying. But it's the classic.
Qualifying is a big thing people don't do too in part of the rapport building. Yeah. All the people that'll be like, hey, do you want to buy some steel to ship over to America, Chris? And I'm like, do I look like I'm steel? Where did you get this from? Is that on my LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's definitely a common problem. And you mentioned something before the Glen Ross. I was going to add something to what you just said. What were you talking about a second ago?
The always be closing, the brass balls where he's.
No. One point of clarification, just to backtrack a little bit on the CRMs is we don't necessarily sell CRM, but we talk about how to integrate Sandler into other people's CRMs. We work with pretty much all the CRMs that are out.
Oh, do you? So whether no matter what that's an important note because some people have their own little systems and you got to be able to integrate with them. But learning to sell, having rapport for people, liking people, I think people get that if you're interested. Like when I go on planes or sometimes I like to fuck with people. And I don't like to fuck with people to screw them in a bad sort of way, but I like to make people's life happy and make them smile. I'm an entertainer, if you will. And so when I get on the plane or when I get on the elevator or when I get on the thing, everyone's kind of doing my own thing. First thing I do is I just break right through the fucking ice. I don't. And so it's
I remember when I'm remarried. We have a 5-year-old daughter, but I have 3 boys from my previous marriage. And when I had to re-enter the dating scene, I just remember I had to redefine my way of living. I just needed to be more outgoing. Just enter conversations with people, to just flow with get to know people around you. And it's a better way of life. You know what I mean? It's a more happy way of life to smile and say hi to people, to get to know the person you're sitting next to. I've never changed it. And, I've met people on planes that I'm friends with now, that I've done business with. I agree with what you're saying. And by the way, the thing that I wanted to go back to that I forgot earlier is that you were talking about how sales is everywhere. You're absolutely true. It's absolutely accurate. And what I love about what I do is that everything that we teach is based in psychology. So the stuff that we teach is equally applicable to how you manage teenagers, how you talk to toddlers. I mean, it's basic communication, soft skills applied to no matter how complex or simple a sales process is. And just to again highlight what you said, if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, or even like a professional services provider, like a CPA or an accountant or something like that, you got to know how to sell. You got to know how to sell.
There you go. And all my great salespeople have had that psychological talent. They know how to read people. They know how to talk to them. They know how to approach them. They know how to spin with them. And a lot of times, the rapport is so much of it when it comes down to interpersonal stuff. I can go routinely. I just do this because I just want to challenge myself. And I'll go get my hair cut. And I'll go to Great Clips or something because, with this much beauty, all I need is $12 haircuts. And so I'll go sit down and I'll start working the room and I'll start working the thing, just like a stand-up comedian. And
you ever done stand-up?
I need to go do stand-up. I've done, just parties I'll do.
I think it'd be a high. I think it'd be like a rush to try it.
It'd probably be boner for me because when people laugh, it's like rock fuel for my brain.
Yeah.
So I'll do that and I'll have everyone laughing. But you mentioned a great thing. You never know where you're going to get a sales lead from, where you're going to get a referral from, where you're going to build people, where people are going to know you from, and it just makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, for real.
Do people have still? I imagine people still. Cold calling is still the hardest thing for most people to do.
Well, let's go back before we change. So,
sure.
Think about if you're dating, right?
Mm-hmm.
You sit we were talking about referrals earlier. Just imagine you're sitting on a plane, right? And you're just being conversational. You're striking up a conversation with maybe a nice old lady sitting next to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you know how easy it would just be to say, hey, listen, I really have enjoyed our conversation. I'm curious, do you know any young girls that are looking for a dude to date in San Diego? I'm looking for a girlfriend.
There you go.
You know how many dates you would get just from that? I want to set you up with, blah, 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 blah. That's just the mindset of put yourself out there into the universe, let it take you wherever it's going to take you, flow with it. And that's when miracles happen.
They do.
Miracles happen.
Yeah.
The only way to fail at prospecting is to not prospect.
That's true. I like that one. You got a prospect, damn it. Makes all the difference in the world. So as we round out the hour, what haven't we touched on that you guys do really well that we want to educate people, maybe how they can onboard or talk to you guys about how to work with you in the future, et cetera, and reach out to you?
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question. One thing that we do is we don't like to enter into agreements and arrangements with clients until we know what to expect. I mean, what are the things we're going to fix? How are we going to fix it? So what we lean into really hard in our sort of discovery process is assessments. It's something that makes us sort of unique, so we want to assess the participants that are going to be going through the program, whether it be an individual or a company, of a sales team, to find out where are the strengths, where are the gaps. And we've got custom assessments that we've built with one of our partner vendors that even sort of gives us a roadmap as for each individual, what are the specific skills that we need to really focus on to build upon those skills and to tighten up those gaps. So
sounds like you really customize it to the clientele and what they
you
need.
have to, right? Because everybody's different. Every individual is different. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so how do they reach out to you? How can they cross the bridge and talk to you about what they need, or what if you might be a good fit for them?
Well, the first thing I'd say, and I'll put my email in the chat, but remember that I have to be a product of my product. So if I'm not allowed to be a pushy, annoying salesperson. So don't have a fear of reaching out to the sales coach. Like, oh God, I want to call a sales coach. He's going to sell me something. Like, I can't be an annoying, pushy salesperson, or else I'd be a terrible sales coach.
That's my job.
Yeah. So we can have a conversation. We can have a quick 10-minute call to see if it's worth for any kind of further discussion. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or my website, or an email address I just put into the chat. I'll also put my LinkedIn in the chat, and I think that email or LinkedIn is probably the easiest way, but I'll leave it up to you guys.
There you go. So on your website too, I see people can go there. They can read over the website, see the different service you have to offer. You got a lot of professional development solutions, online tools. You work with business owners, presidents, CEOs, sales managers, sales teams, and individual salespeople and enterprise organizations. They can click on the website or fill out the field to book a call with you, a discovery call.
Yeah, it's you can find me at Brian Jackson, Sandler Training, San Diego. The website is salesrevenue.sandler.com. But yeah, happy to have a conversation and see if the challenges that you have are things that we help clients with, and take it from there.
There you go. Well, Brian, it's been wonderful and fun to go through the program and talk about sales with you. Hopefully we've enlightened a few people. People on LinkedIn will probably love us on the newsletter. Anything more you want to pitch before we go?
Man, no, I think I've done enough, man. I just want to thank you, Chris. This has been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed your way of doing the podcast, really loose. So thanks. Hopefully you can go and edit out my joke from earlier.
Which joke was it? I liked all of them.
John Madden joke.
No, actually, that's set up a suspense, man. You had everybody. You took people on a journey, man.
I'm gonna beat myself up about that.
No, you took people on a journey, man. I was sitting here going, "What the hell happened now?"
I was watching your reaction.
If you just went for the joke, it'd have been like, that's just a joke, man. You took us, you created suspense and adventure, and I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah, maybe that's a whole new way of telling the joke. It's the journey.
It's the journey. It's not the destination. Hardest thing I ever learned.
You're a stand-up guy. My favorite stand-up guy is Norm Macdonald. I love how he can.
I love Norm Macdonald.
He can stretch it out to be like 5 minutes long, and then it just has the most cheesy punchline at the ending.
Note to self: be like Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
That's an homage to Norm. We do that on the show. I love Norm. I was crushed when he passed.
Me too.
And such a funny guy, George Carlin. The beautiful part about Norm was Norm could die and kill. And most, if you're a comedian, you don't want to die.
Yeah.
Kill.
Yeah.
But the real art, the taxi driver gentleman, I forget his name. He was in the show Taxi.
Andy, I was going to say the same thing. Andy Kaufman. I was going to say, and I kind of held it back, but I said, who else did that really well is Andy Kaufman. Yeah. Yes, I'm with you 100%.
He could get up and he just opened the Bible and start reading it.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to be funny.
It was the Great Gatsby. Great Gatsby. Yes.
Yeah. And then you take everybody out for chocolate chip cookies.
I love going on YouTube and pulling up Norm clips from Conan or Dave Letterman where he's just torturing them with this long story, and they're like, "Well, is there an end to this?" And that's the joke too. Yeah,
it's just he's just dying and it's killing because after a while the audience gets the joke. They're like, "Oh, we see what he's doing. He's just and then he's got a great roundup." But yeah, anyway, thank you for coming on the show, Brian. We really appreciate it. Give us your .com so people can find you on the interwebs, please.
Yep, it's www.salesrevenue, one word, .sandler, like Adam Sandler.com.
There you go. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, the big LinkedIn newsletter as well. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, damn it. And we'll see you next time.